What is up, Packer fans? Back again for day, I think, 20 of training camp. I just am saying it's 20. I'm not really sure. They get all mixed up when, with the scrimmages and then with walkthroughs and all that. I think we're at like 20. All I know is that they play Thursday against the Chiefs and the season starts September 11th against the Vikings. Everything before that, we'll see how it all plays out. But Packers back at camp today. Today was an exciting day of camp. Just these guys are really starting to kind of separate themselves. You're starting to see who's going to be on the team. Guys who are, kind of on the bubble are making their last ditch effort to kind of get on the squad. They're trying to do everything they can to make an impression. Guys who have struggled early on in camp are starting to do something. Today was the day of Tyler Davis. Finally, there was so much hype about Davis going into camp at OTAs and just throughout the offseason. And then he's just kind of been underwhelming throughout training camp the last, 20 days or so of training camp. He hasn't caught the ball well, hasn't played well, hasn't blocked well. False starts, holding calls, the fumble, the only turnover in the game against the Saints on a nice pass, from Love and another drive that they were trying to get the ball down the field. He kind of ended that. So he's been struggling. He's been looking not like he's been doing everything he can do to play himself right off the football team, right off the Packers. So to see him finally have a day where it kind of all came together, I don't know if it was just the fact that, he feels the pressure and realizes the time is now, otherwise I'm not going to be on this team, or if something clicked, or if he talked to somebody and things change, or if he just got the attitude of just whatever, I'm going to go out there, do what I can to prove that I deserve to be here. Maybe a collection of all of it, but super exciting that he did have a good day. So I'm just the Packers need every piece on offense they can get, especially with these young receivers. If a guy like Tyler Davis can come in and contribute, that's just huge. Just another guy out there that's making plays. So today, David Bakhtiari did not practice. It was just it wasn't a setback at all. It's part of his ramp-up plan. A day off and then maybe a little more intensity tomorrow and the next day and then maybe another day off. So just trying to ease him back into it, not put too much stress or pressure on that knee, and just, kind of reacclimate him to what he's going to be doing. Obviously, he knows, but it's been 20 months, so just feel it out and everything, see how the knee responds, and go from there. So I think it's good from the Packers. There's no rush. He came back earlier than I expected, and now we have some time to see how that knee responds to the the playing that he's going to be doing, so, or the practicing at least. So we will see how that goes. Obviously all the starters and even defensive starters are not going to be playing in the Chiefs game on Thursday. Rasul Douglas said that there was going to maybe be a chance that the defensive starters might play. Some of the defense might play, and Matt LaFleur shut that down. Nobody that hasn't been playing is going to be playing. Pretty much everybody's out, except for if Christian Watson is good to go, he's going to play against Kansas City. So that is super exciting. I just, him being hurt set him back, and we've just kind of been waiting to see what he can do. And all of a sudden now he's out there. He's making plays. You can see the talent. You can see why they traded 2 second-rounders up to be, the 34th pick. Basically a super, super late first round. I mean, 34th is right there. He is definitely an elite talent coming out of a small school, North Dakota State. We just might take a little while to figure it all out, but Rodgers said he's asking the right questions. He wants to learn. He wants to figure it out. He doesn't want to make the same mistake twice. So that's all you can ask for out of a young receiver, and I'm excited what they might be able to do with him. Packers really drafted well. These young receivers have come on a lot quicker than most people thought. Obviously, Romeo Doubs has been the talk of camp. He just continues to make plays. And then with Christian Watson finally coming back, you can see the talent. And then even Samari Toure, he's been playing really well, and I just like what I saw out of him so far. hopefully he can have a big game against the Chiefs. So really big notable change today. So the Packers got down to the 80-man. I thought they had been making their cuts. Today they had to officially be down to 80, so they had already made some cuts and were down to 83. They cut Ty Clary and Manick yesterday, the linebacker. So today they did something that kind of surprised a lot of people. They released Vernon Scott, who was the safety that was playing with the ones. I think it's an injury designation type of situation because we saw he got hurt, but he was released. Kylan Hill was moved to the physically unable to perform list. That sucks because he's coming back from that ACL. He hurt it the same game that Robert Tonyan got hurt. Maybe this is just to give him a little extra time, but he did tie for the team lead in kick return yards last year, so he's a guy that does have a place on this roster, and the fact that they moved him to the PUP list shows that he's a little bit farther behind than maybe they wanted him to be or that I thought previously. So he'll miss at least 4 games to start the season, but if he can come back after that super healthy and ready to go, that could be great for the Packers. Does throw a wrench into the running back situation. I think Tyler Goodson's a lock for the number 3 running back, but does Patrick Taylor make the team at number 4, or is Dexter Williams going to sneak in there and steal that 4th spot? Looks like the Packers have been giving him a lot of looks, and it seems like he's been making the most of it. He's been doing well, so big change from when he was here the first time. I liked the guy. I liked what he brought to the table before, and you saw flashes of what he could do, and then just not the consistency was lacking. So other big news today, big trade. Packers seem to have offensive linemen, probably like 10 or 11 that can play. And so they traded Cole Van Lanen today. He played like tackle guard. He was kind of that second stringer, but he was a guy that would rotate in, and he was a guy that played last year. They traded him to the Jacksonville Jaguars for an undisclosed draft pick. And so that kind of opens up a lot of doors for, Zach Tom and other guys that are trying to get onto this roster. So the whole new depth chart for offensive linemen for the second stringers goes as Caleb Jones now at left tackle. I really like him. I think he can be something. Zach Tom, a guy that's pushing for a spot to start. Michael Manet, and then Sean Ryan at guard. Michael Manet is at center, and then Rasheed Walker, a guy who we haven't seen much from. He was injured early on, and now he's starting to show himself a little bit. He's a big kid. He played for Penn State, played tackle there mostly, so he's a guy that can step in and play. He was a later round pick, so he's kind of a developmental guy, but it's good to see him out there with the twos. Like I said, I think Zach Tom's going to sneak his way in there, but Jake Hanson's been playing super well, probably playing better than Royce Newman. I keep thinking they're going to kick Royce Newman to guard if Jenkins and Bakhtiari come back, but I think that Jake Hanson might have held his own in that right guard spot. That's why I think Zach Tom's pushing for that position, but maybe the Packers want him and his flexibility just in case one of the guys goes down. He can kind of plug and play. I really, the fact that Bakhtiari's having his knee issues, but we have a guy like Yash who's been playing so well. It really makes it a lot better for the Packers because that's a position where you can't afford to have a guy who is a weak link. That's the blind side quarterback. Rodgers is right-handed, so he's looking that way, and the guy's coming from that way. So you need to be able to trust the left side. You need to be able to trust that the blocker is going to hold his block, and everybody's on the same page. Otherwise, you're going to get your clock cleaned like who was that? Justin Fields last year in the preseason. I think it was against the Bills. Missed the read and just got crushed. So don't want to see that. Obviously, Rodgers is a little more ahead of Fields, and he can set up his protections better, but still you have to be able to trust that left side. Otherwise, you'll hurry your throws, you'll rush where you go with the ball, and mistakes are more likely to happen. So awesome to have a backup like Yash who can come in and play. I know they threw Zach Tom in some of those left tackle spots, but having Caleb Jones look like he can play too it's just really nice to have guys that are versatile and that can play multiple positions and that look like they're starting caliber at the very least. We don't know how this offensive line is going to look towards the end of the season. If Bakhtiari's knee is going to hold up, if Jenkins is going to stay healthy. Josh Myers got hurt last year, so is he going to stay healthy? A lot of question marks. So it's nice to have so many really good offensive linemen and guys that can play multiple positions. So I'm excited to see what the Packers do. I had them keeping 10 at first. I think I switched it down to 9 because Bach was going to come back, but I actually had Bach on the roster before I heard he was going to come back. But then I thought, well, if he's on the PUP list, then how does that work out? But seems like he's not on the PUP list now, so he will be on the roster. And how that affects the rest of the guys on the O-line that the Packers keep, we'll see how that works out. So, let's see. Today, there was injuries with Rico Gafford, the kick returner wide receiver. He's a guy that's kind of on the bubble, but he is the fastest guy on the Packers roster. He ran a 4.22 at Wyoming's Pro Day when they were there to watch Josh Allen. So for a guy like him to be injured right now, it's a really tough spot to be. I think he really only had a job opportunity at like gunner or kick returner. And if other guys can play back there, I know Amari Rodgers is back there, but if Christian Watson can come in and take some of those reps, I don't think there's a spot for Gafford, especially with him being out. And then Sal Cannella is also out today, the tight end out of the USFL. For a guy like him who's kind of on the bubble, getting hurt right now is just not what he wants to do or what he wants to see. And Akil Byers is still rehabbing. So all three of those guys were out today, kind of rehabbing off to the side, not really a part of practice. And it's tough because those are guys who were kind of on the bubble, kind of on the outside looking in, but still Gafford had a spot if he could be elite or better than the other guys, at least in those positions on special teams. But with him being out, it's going to be tough. So team drills, Packers starting offense looked like this. Obviously, left tackle was Yash. Left guard was John Runyon Jr. Center was Josh Myers. Right guard was Jake Hansen, like I was saying. And then right tackle was Royce Newman. We know that obviously Bakhtiari and Jenkins will come in, but we'll see how the rest of the offensive line, develops. And then wide receivers were Watson and Doubs, and then Aaron Jones and Mercedes Lewis with Dillon as well, and Aaron Rodgers. So pretty cool starting unit for the Packers today. I like these combination packages with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. I think seeing a lot more of that this year is going to be exciting. Two guys that can run the ball and catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield. I think Jones is a little better than Dillon, but Dillon doesn't get enough credit for what he can do with the football in the passing game. So I'm excited to see both those guys. Obviously, Mercedes Lewis is a wily old vet. He's been in the league for a long time. I think if he plays another year after this, he can set the record for most games by a tight end. That'd be pretty awesome if he was able to stay around next year. I think him and Rodgers are both around 38, and I think they'll be back next year, probably for their last year, but it would be a good look for both of them. Hopefully they can end it with a Super Bowl. Mercedes does not have a Super Bowl win. He was in Jacksonville for most of his career, so he came here to play with Rodgers and hopefully win a Super Bowl. And so they started the team practice, and Rashawn Gary has been in the backfield pretty much since the start of camp, but he looks almost unblockable. They get a lot of reps, but they don't really get to sack the quarterback. So how close he got to the quarterback on a bunch of these reps was really scary. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be in the backfield, causing havoc, just really disrupting plays. Whether he gets to the quarterback for the sack or not, he's going to be making plays that affect, the offense as a whole and creates opportunities for this Packers defense. And this Packers defense has a bunch of guys out there that, can ball hawk and totally flip a game around. So really exciting. This defense is really starting to come together, and the Packers today started playing around with certain formations that I'm really excited about. So today really big plays from Yash blocking in the running game. He set some holes for Dillon and Jones. Jake Hansen's been blocking really well. He doesn't get enough credit for what he does in the pass game and in the run game. Kind of a guy that just came on out of nowhere. Um, he wasn't even on my 53 or like the holdover practice squad thoughts. He wasn't even on like my sheet at all when it came to roster predictions. At the start of the season, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, before training camp started, and now he's a guy that's probably going to start week 1 at that right guard spot. A guy that we don't know a whole lot about, but as he plays and if he does start, we're going to learn about him quickly. So super exciting to see a guy like him kind of just be given a chance and not relinquish the opportunity. And so far, he's been playing better than Newman, and it looks like that's his spot to lose. So really exciting. And then other guys that don't get enough attention, I guess you could say, would be Dean Lowry. This guy's been playing so well. Last year, just very consistent. He's the guy that comes in and makes plays. Seems like he's around the football. A few fumble recoveries and things like that. Just having a knack for where the ball is and being around the ball and all those things. He really just is a football player, knows what he's doing, does his job, and I really like what he brings to this team. He's been playing well all camp. Him and other guys like TJ Slayton just really set in the middle. When you get Clark and Jaron Reed out or Wyatt's out, Wyatt's kind of come on slow, but when you have guys that you can rotate in when you take the starters out that can be disruptive as well, that's huge because obviously guys need rest and you can't have them in at every play. If you're able to rotate guys in and out until there's like a situation where you need something and your guy's fresh, that's the ideal situation. Not to overplay your guys so that they can be ready for when they need to be ready for. So this huge today, the Packers with Darnell Savage sitting out with the hamstring injury still. We're messing around with different units. So they threw Rasul Douglas in at safety, at free safety, alongside Adrian Amos. And those guys, it's just really an exciting formation because you have Stokes and Jair as the corners, and then basically the best 11 because without Savage, Douglas brings so much to the table. As a 6'2 corner, I think he can really play safety well. He's a ball hawk. He's going to play back there like just kind of lurking back there, and I really think he can be disruptive. I think he's a guy that can jump into the safety role and really take over and be good. We have so many, so when Darnell comes back, I think they're going to just kind of use him like that, but having guys that are so versatile and can play multiple roles is huge. I just really like what Douglas brings to the table. Keyshawn, I was calling him Casey on forever, and now I realize it's Keyshawn. So Keyshawn Nixon, a guy that is a Raiders holdover from last year. Bisaccia brought him over here for special teams, but he's the guy that's starting to get some reps on on defense with the ones. When they moved Douglas to free safety, Nixon was in the slot. So he's a guy that is versatile too, can stop the run, and is a good cover guy as well. So I like what the Packers are trying to do here. Just kind of see what they have, see what guys can do what, and bringing Douglas back there really could be a special move for the Packers. We'll see how Darnell Savage's injury works itself out. But if Douglas has to spend some time back there at safety, I think he will do a good job. I'm excited to see how this kind of looks if they do use it in a game or something. So, Douglas can cover, and he doesn't mind stopping the run, but he's such a ball hawk. So putting him in a position like that kind of allows him to roam the whole field and kind of be wherever he needs to be in order to make an interception or a PBU. So exciting. I just liked having, just different options for everybody, and that's a good one, I think. I think that's a really good idea. So more during team drills, Zach Tom, he's the guy that, like I keep saying before, people want to see him as a starter. He played left tackle at Wake Forest. He played center at Wake Forest. He was one of the top-rated offensive linemen in college football last year. A guy that said he wanted to play all 5 positions in the NFL at a starting level, be that good, be that reliable, and be that consistent. So obviously it's taken him a little time to come on as a NFL player, but we see what he can do. Today he opened a big hole for Dexter Williams, who's the guy that might make this roster, and just really set the edge on Slayton. And he's a guy, I just like what I see out of Tom. The Packers drafted so good. I can't keep saying it enough. A fourth rounder that could be a starter long term. Sean Ryan's a third rounder, who also could start long term, but is kind of coming on a little slower. But he might be the best guy in this entire Packers draft. 6'4", 320. He's got just a crazy amount of physical talent, and I just really think that he's a guy that can play really well in the future. So I look to see, all these little nuances of each player, each position, how it all breaks down. And a lot of what the 53-man roster and the 16-man practice squad is keeping guys on each that other guys or other teams won't take, and trying to be flexible with who stays where and how you strategize each move. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into these rosters, and to see how it all develops is always fun. Like I said, this is the final push for real. There's the final preseason game on Thursday, and then not too much longer until the season starts. August 30th, the Packers have to be down to 53-man roster, and that's Tuesday. So coming up quicker than you think. The Packers will be playing sooner than you think, and then the weekend will be here, and by then, basically, it is cut time. So how it works out, we will see. Jordan Love, people keep saying that he just hasn't developed, and we don't see any progress from him. But I don't know who these people are. Have you even watched him play at all? Like, you can totally see the confidence is different. You can totally see that he has an understanding of this offense in a much more, in much better. You can see that he is more confident reading the defense, setting the protection, switching the play, making the throw, deciding where to throw to, looking guys off. I mean, he didn't have a rookie year because of COVID. Last year was crazy with Rodgers flip-flopping and all that stuff, and didn't show up until late. And, he got some stuff, but there was a lot of pressure and a lot of questions around, like, what's going to happen. So people need to just relax. He has a lot of talent. He came out of a school that's, not known for its quarterbacks. And he's a guy that, was young and had a lot of hype all of a sudden during the combine and before the draft, and Packers traded up to get him. So he's the guy that, we knew would be a project, we knew would take some development, and a guy that Goody really liked, obviously, because there's other guys available. But I like the idea that if he can come in a year or two next, not this year, hopefully Rodgers stays one more year, but if he does retire next year, I think by then Love will be more than ready. And there's going to be some growing pains, of course. There always will be. But I think he's going to be in a much better place then. And I've already seen the development. And just seeing that progress gives me hope that there can be more. So I'm not worried. But today he got the defense to jump, had a free play, and then threw an interceptable pass to Chris Barnes that he dropped. But, he could have went deep on the play instead of throwing it into coverage. There's a lot of learning tools there. I just like the fact that he, kind of is learning from Rodgers and getting them the defense to jump. That just shows that he is kind of starting to understand what goes on the line when you're, your cadence and all those things. So important for a young player to really start to learn and figure out. But once they do, it can really become a good tool for them. As you see, Rodgers does that all the time. He gets teams to jump and has fun with it. So, like I was saying, Tyler Davis today, best day off camp, finally did something. About time. It's so nuts that he just was such a big, the talk of Tampa, the talk of the town, everything. It was crazy. Like, I couldn't believe that everybody was so hyped on him, because I hadn't seen anything yet. He was kind of a Jacksonville Jaguar holdover, kind of like Allen Lazard, but didn't really produce with them. And Packers swipe him, and they just were super high on him, and then we see him, and it was just nothing. So for him to come out today and finally put something together, he had a few nice plays, a nice crosser against really good coverage. I think he had Tyreek Carpenter in coverage, which is a guy that can cover a tight end. He's not really a guy that can cover running backs or receivers, but He had a big play across the middle, like I said, a touchdown catch in the back of the end zone from Aaron Rodgers, a sliding touchdown in the red zone from Jordan Love, and then a few other nice grabs that really, showed what the Packers were talking about. I just hadn't seen anything, and it was like, okay, he's the guy that's basically the fourth tight end. Dominic Daphne went out with injury. He's on IR, or he was on IR. So Tyler Davis was the guy that basically was handed a plate like, here's, you're on the team, and was doing everything he could to play himself off the team. So for him to put a day together like he did today is huge. I'm super hopeful for his ability. Robert Tonyan's back. DeGuara's hasn't really come on, but Tanyan's coming back from the ACL. Mercedes Lewis is a little bit older, so if we can get a guy like Tyler Davis to come in and start making plays, that just is a whole new dimension for this offense that we haven't had in a few years since Tanyan, had 11 touchdowns 2 years ago. But Romeo Doubs can't, talk Packers without talking about Romeo Doubs. Today he had one of those David Tyree catches on his helmet that came on a pretty short throw from Rodgers, just under 10 yards. But it was a no-look pass from Rodgers to Doubs, made a crazy adjustment to catch it, and had to kind of use a David Tyree situation in order to make the grab. But what a play to convert a third down. Doubs is showing that he's got the skill, he's got the talent, he's going to get rid of those drops, and he's a guy that's going to play himself onto the field. I keep seeing all these projections like Lazard's going to be wide receiver 1, Watkins will be number 2, and then Cobb's going to be kind of that receiver number 3 in the slot. But with the way that Doubs has been playing, I don't think that he's not going to be on the field. I think he's, he could probably play in the slot. He can play outside. He's clearly better than Cobb is. And I think he's, at this point, he's probably better talent-wise than Watkins. We can see what Watkins can do, but Romeo has really stepped up. He's kind of eliminated all these worries at receiver that we had going into the draft and that we had going into training camp. He's a guy that stepped up so much that, there's some hope for this receiver room. And now it's kind of deep, with Winfrey and Amari Rodgers, who we haven't really talked about in a while. And so there's guys that can play that are still fighting to be on this team. So I'm just excited to see how it all works itself out. That week 1 against the Vikings always is tough in Minnesota. Week 1 last year sucked we were in Jacksonville against the Saints. But, to lose that bad, have Jameis Winston throw 5 touchdown passes, just a bad look. So I hope this, not having a preseason doesn't affect us as bad as it did last year. Remember last year, though, Rodgers showed up like at the very last moment. So this year he's been there. He's been working with the guys. He's been having fun. He's, it's a totally different situation, different vibe, all those things. So I'm excited to see what happens. But so this defense, shutdown city, it's going to be a no-fly zone like I was just talking about. Jameis Winston came out and threw all these touchdown passes in week 1. Kirk Cousins will not be doing that. If he's not getting sacked by Gary like 3.5 times or having to deal with Kenny Clark in his face, when he throws the ball, he's going to have Rasul Douglas, Jair Alexander, and Eric Stokes on the back end with Amos, Roman the safety. They had Douglas in at safety a lot today, though. They kept putting him back there, and I really liked what I saw. They had him in there during 2 minutes, and he played really well. He's got to learn a little bit of this, but he's been doing so good. So this defense, we haven't had 3 corners like this in a long time. Obviously, we had Kevin King as our 2. Basically now he'd be the 4 or 5, and he's not even good. They let him go. So a guy like Kabion Ento can make the team, and he was a holdover from last year. I didn't have him on the 53-man. You can't, every time a guy makes a play, you can't be like, I'm going to put him on there now because of one play, but he had an awesome interception today, basically a one-hander that he got up there. He's got hops. He, went up there and up in the air and caught the ball, so pretty awesome to see that. You never see, you don't see guys like him make a lot of plays, and so when he does, it's something special. You got to just take it for what it is. And, he's a guy that could make the team, but with Keyshawn Nixon kind of already stepping into that role, and they're looking at Douglas at safety. So, you know, they let go of Vernon Scott. But if Douglas can play a safety, then how many safeties are they gonna keep? And maybe they'll keep an extra corner and kind of have Douglas be that hybrid guy. So how this all works itself out is going to be so interesting. Like I said, they knocked it down to 80 already today, and then they're going to be going down to the 53 next Tuesday already. That's a big jump from 80 to 53. People, you know, this is a lot of guys' dreams, and they've been busting their butt basically all of training camp, and now it's time to really get down to making plays or going home. They've got one last chance. It's the last, you know, showdown. Everything is on the line at Kansas City for some of these guys. Obviously, the ones that know they're on the team, know they're on the team. Starters know they're going to be starters. But for the guys at the tail end, basically, you know, 45 through 53, and then the practice squad guys are all going to be vying for position. You know, it cuts down from 80 to 53, but you keep 69 on the 69 total with the practice squad, so only really 11 get cut. So it's actually kind of makes it a little better, but as we're starting to wean down, you start to see how it might all work itself out. So super awesome. I'm excited to see what this offense looks like, how this defense really comes together, and just how each individual player kind of develops over the course of the year. If Dobbs can kind of come in and be that lead dog, if Lazard is going to step up and really take over as a receiver one, what this running game can look like with two guys who, you know, Jones was the lead dog, and Dillon was kind of the young buck coming in. You know, we saw the talent, but he hadn't really figured it out yet. And now he's, I think, in his third season now, so he's the guy that's really going to be ready to step up, and he could be a lead running back. So this team is stacked on all levels, and I think that with guys that we were hoping to play well, like Tyler Davis, finally coming around, I think it's going to be huge for this Packers team. We hadn't really seen the rookie Rasheed Walker, like I was talking about. He kind of came in with that second unit, but he had a really good block against Jonathan Garvin. He set up Tyler Davis for another touchdown, and then this time it was from Love. I mean, Davis just coming into his own, finally getting it together. People like him, and then, you know, other players that are lower on the list showing that they can play is huge. I think Walker will be on the practice squad, but the fact that he is playing, you know, at least in there shows that, you know, he can handle the reps. He's a big kid, so he's just got to work on his footwork and his hand position, and, you know, a lot of the different technique things that go along with playing offensive tackle. So just awesome today, you know, with the trade of Cole Van Lanen, with how Tyler Davis finally had a big day, and with the move of Rasul Douglas to free safety. Just a lot of awesome moves for the Packers. I hope Cole Van Lanen can go start down there in Jacksonville for Trevor Lawrence, and we're like one day away from the game, and then we'll be on the way to the season. Can't wait. We're just knocking days out, and we'll be there soon. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Go Packers, and peace out. Later.